Generator functions return generators, but they often process iterators in the course of their execution. And this happens so often that in Python 3.3, released back in 2012, they added a new statement, yield from, that just has a generator yield all the elements in some other iterator. So a yield from statement yields all values from an iterator or iterable. For instance, let's say I want to define a then b, which is a function that takes in two iterables or iterators and returns all the elements in the first followed by all the elements in the second. One way I could write this is to say for x and a yield x, and then for x and b yield x. But there's a simpler way. I could just write yield from a, then yield from b. These are completely equivalent. So you could think of yield from as just shorthand for writing down a for statement where you go through all the elements in a and yield them. But it does allow you to avoid giving a name to each item in this sequence, which just cleans up your code. Here's another example. Let's say we want to define a generator function that counts down from 5. Well, one way I could do it is recursively. If k is greater than 0, then I yield k. Then I yield all of the values in countdown k minus 1 by calling yield from countdown k minus 1. So if I'm counting down from k, if k is greater than 0, I definitely want to yield k first. If I wrote this wrong and just wrote yield countdown k minus 1, the second element in the iterator that I got back would actually just be another iterator. So counting down from 3 would start out well, but the next thing I'd get back is a generator object, which is not what I expected. I expected the number 2. So to get the numbers 2 and 1, I'd have to write a for statement and yield each element in the for statement. Then, if I count down, I get 3, and then 2, and then 1. And the shorthand way to do that is instead of writing a for statement, I just write yield from everything in countdown. And I get 3, 2, 1, blast off. Wouldn't it be cool if it said blast off at the end? Well, we could change that. We could just say else yield blast off. Okay, so now we can go for every k in countdown. 3, print k. And it gives me the whole countdown sequence and something exciting at the end. Let's finish with a slightly more involved example. I can yield all the prefixes of s, or I'm going to assume s is a string, but it really could be any iterable. If it's non-empty, then I'm going to yield from the prefixes of all of s up into, but not including, the last element. And then I'll yield s itself. So the prefixes of both is a generator object. If I list them out, then I get b, bo, bot, and both. And I get them in this order because I yield from prefixes before I yield s itself. Once I can generate prefixes, I can also generate substrings. If s is not empty, then some of the substrings are just the prefixes. So I'll yield all of those. And then I'll yield from the substrings of the rest of the string. So substrings of tops, for instance, is a generator. If I list its contents, then I see t, to, top, and tops. Those are all the prefixes of tops. But then I get all the prefixes of ops, o, op, ops, and then p, ps, and s. And together, those are all of the substrings of tops.